decided together that we wouldn't do it at that time. So when the Washington Post sought me out, I didn't go looking for this. This fell in my lap. It literally fell in my lap. And I had to make a decision. And I told them that at that time, the reporters, who were all just wonderful to me, that if they found additional people, that I would tell my story. And they found those people.
Out front tonight, two faith leaders with very different opinions on Roy Moore. Janet Porter is a Roy Moore supporter. She's also the president of Faith to Action. And Eva Melton is among a group of Alabama pastors who signed a letter denouncing Moore. She is the pastor of the Firm Foundation Church. I appreciate both of you taking the time tonight. Janet, let me start with you if I can. I want to play some of what one of Moore's accusers, you just heard a little bit about what Lee Korfman had to say. But here she talks about what he did to her, what she says he did to her when she was 14 years old. That is below the age of consent.
Thank you for making that correction. Most of them are saying this is what he did as if he really did it, and I thank you for making the correction. Most anchors are not doing that these days.
All right, I will just note, even the first four accusers, there are more than 30 people who have corroborated their accounts contemporate with the time in which it occurred. But let me play for you, for both of you, what she said happened.
At 14, I was not dating. At 14, I was not able to make those kind of choices. He basically laid out some blankets on the floor of his living room and proceeded to seduce me, I guess you would say. And during the course of that, he removed my clothing. He left the room and came back in wearing his white underwear. And he touched me over my clothing, what was left of it. And he tried to get me to touch him as well. I was a 14-year-old child trying to play in an adult's world, and he was 32 years old.
So, Janet, just to understand, I know you don't believe her, right? Just to be clear, you don't believe her. But if that happened, would that be okay in any scenario to you?
No, I think anybody who's guilty of sexual assault should step down, and that's why I call for Al Franken to leave the Senate. Interestingly, the establishment is not calling for the guilty man, the man who's admitted guilt to sexual assault, complete with a picture. They're calling for him to step down, but what they're not doing, what they're doing instead is they're calling for the innocent man to step out of the race, and that's just not right. We are innocent until proven guilty.
Eva?
He should step down. Sexual assault, child abuse, sexual abuse, abuse of power. In our faith, we don't stand for that, but we are supposed to speak up for those who are in a lesser position and those who are marginalized by society and even by the church. So he should definitely step down. And if he did this and outside of that, he is not handling these allegations very seriously.
How have you gotten your head around the point that I made earlier, which is not just that it is 8 women who have accused Roy Moore, who do not know each other, but that there are tens of people, 30 for the first 4, you're looking at up to 50 or 60 if you combine them all, of people who they told these accounts to over the years. Do you believe that all of those people are lying?
Well, when you look at the facts, one of the things that Lee Korfman said is that the Washington Times, quote, sought me out. All right, so these are Washington Times-driven allegations, and there's something that's pretty much common with every single one. None of them have any evidence. There is one shred of evidence which doesn't prove guilt, and that's that signature in the yearbook. And interestingly, it's not just that I am questioning the validity, but not only the accuser of Beverly Nelson, for example's own stepson says she's lying, but Gloria Allred, her own attorney, doesn't believe her. That's why she hasn't released the yearbook. Listen to this, if I may. This was on MSNBC, and it proves the point. Kate Snow asked Gloria Allred, the attorney for one of the accusers, if independent analysis shows that this independent analysis shows that this is not a signature, does that disprove your client's allegations? And her answer was, no, it doesn't. In other words, even if my client is lying, even if the evidence is forgery, I'm still going to pursue the campaign to defeat Roy Moore, because it's not about the facts, it's not about the women or the evidence. This is about a campaign to elect a Democrat in the state of Alabama. Plain and simple.
So the Washington Post, not the Washington Times, but I will say, Janet.
I'm sorry, my mistake.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm just pointing that out. But that's the job of a journalist, right? Is to find these stories and seek them out. So you're criticizing them for doing their job, right? I mean, it would be more upsetting if someone came and sought them out to give it to them. That would reek of some sort of a cover-up. But a reporter going out and doing good, hard-nosed reporting and finding someone and asking questions, that's what you should want a reporter to do.
What they're doing, though, is that they are the opposition research for Roy Moore's opponent. They're going out with a campaign. By the way, you know the Washington Post endorsed his opponent. They are on a campaign
that's the editorial
to try and defeat him. That's clear. Yeah, and that's their news page, too, if you read it. Let me tell you one of the other things we discovered. In the MSNBC interview, the same one, Gloria Allred admitted this is political. Listen to this. She said, what sort of jurisdiction do they have, meaning the Senate? Gloria Allred's holding the yearbook hostage unless she goes through the Senate committee, unless Roy Moore submits himself to the Senate committee. Guess who's on that? A guy by the name of Al Franken. This is the guy that's admitted guilt of sexual assault who's supposed to oversee the innocent man who's been accused. It's appalling. And I call on Gloria Allred to release the book or admit that you're merely a shill for the opposition campaign against Roy Moore.
So, Eva, when you hear that this is a campaign for the Democrat, which Janet didn't mention Mitch McConnell, but others who support Roy Moore have said it's a campaign between Democrats, Mitch McConnell, establishment Republicans, and the media. What do you say?
I don't care who sought her out or who they think is helping bring these stories to light. These are still stories of women who were teenagers at the time, and we cannot make lightly of those allegations. We can go around and say this is about Republicans and Democrats, but we as the church, we as society need to take stories, these type of stories, very seriously and open the door for women to tell their stories and for children to tell their stories. And that's part of the problem, that we are just wanting to say, well, this didn't happen. But you have more stories being told, more facts being told, more circumstances that are being told. And so on the other side, you're just getting, it didn't happen. But then you're getting things that, well, not generally. I didn't date, underage women at the time. So we have to take these allegations seriously. And until Roy Moore does it, I don't believe a word he's saying.
By the way, that's factually untrue. He did not say, I'll just say he's on record. He's made it very clear Judge Roy Moore did not date underage women, nor did he conduct
he admitted. He actually admitted to dating one of these women. No, that's not true. He did admit to dating one of these women.
No, he did admit to it.
He didn't date anyone who was underage. He did not. I can read his press release right here.
She was 16.
Guess what he said?
He did not date anyone who was underage. I guarantee you that's what he says. I have it right in front of me.
He said she was above the age in Alabama. She was a teenager, but she was above the age of consent.
There's one thing I agree.
So he was 30 or 32 and she was 16.
There's one thing I agree with.
You okay with that, Janet?
There's one thing I agree with Miss. You know what my opinions are on dating. I wrote a whole book on dating. If you want to hear what they are, I can give that to you sometime. But I'm here to talk about the allegations against Judge Moore and how they are absolutely baseless,
whether it's okay to vote for him, given that. So if that happened, are you okay with it? You're defending it.
What I'm talking about is the baseless allegations that are aimed at an innocent man who has proven his trustworthiness, his character, his impeccable values. This is a guy that's pro-life, who's been a champion for life, where his opponent is actually in favor of tax-funded abortion until birth, until the moment of birth.
But so does it matter if he engaged in an act of pedophilia?
How do you know he's innocent?
His views on abortion are more important to you?
You know what? If someone engaged in any kind of illicit acts, I would ask them to step down. That's why I've asked for Al Franken to step down. But what we're talking about is one word I agree with the young lady who just spoke. And the one word that I would say is stories. If we're going to convict people by what the media has to say, I guarantee you there'd be some lacrosse players from Duke who'd be in jail right now. Remember Tawana Brawley? Remember what they did to Clarence Thomas? This is the same movie we saw with Gloria in 2011.
Clarence Thomas, I think, is in a different category than those other two examples.
What we're looking at is stories. And if you can't weigh the evidence, if you can't cross-examine it, and especially if you can't even examine the evidence, and that's where Gloria Allred, if she's going to continue to withhold the evidence, she should frankly be disbarred.
Of course, on sexual harassment and sexual assault, the reality as a society we have to deal with is you almost never can get exact evidence. Right? That's the reality we're dealing with. So at some point you have to decide what you're willing to stand for or not. And I appreciate both of you making it clear where you stand on that. Thank you.